Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into an intriguing and slightly controversial question I came across. It's about paying rent to your parents. Yes, you heard that right. Here's the question. I pay my parents rent. They own the house, but all I get is a room. Nothing else is included. Should I just stop paying them? I'm 22. This sparked a massive debate in the comments, and let me tell you, people had a lot to say about this. Let's start with some of the most interesting responses. First up, we have David.
Try getting a job. They're already partially supporting you by putting a roof over your head.
Short and sweet. David thinks it's time to step up. What do you guys think? Is he being too blunt? Now, Williams came in hot with a very detailed take.
Who is paying for your electricity, gas, water, heating, air conditioning, internet, cell phone? When I was 17 years old, 5 years younger than you, I paid all my own bills: apartment rent, electricity, gas, water, and I saved quarters for the apartment laundry machines, and they don't include free detergent or dryer sheets. I bought my own groceries and made my own food. Plenty of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Kool-Aid. That's the kind of food I could afford at that time. I was paying my parents' rent starting at age 13. The amount was 50% of anything I made was paid to my parents for rent and food and use of the laundry machines. At 13 years old, I thought I was getting a good deal. If you just stop paying them, you can also just find a new place to live. Yes, I'm an old man. These days it takes children until the age of 30 to become an adult, but they'll be complaining about not being treated as an adult starting at age 13. Well, act like an adult and maybe you will be treated as an adult. When you rent an apartment, nothing else is included. Get used to the facts of life. You are not a baby anymore. You cannot say, "Mommy, I want." You have had a long time living at your parents' house, plenty of time to get a college degree and get a high-paying job. What have you been doing with your life for all these years? Facebook? Or maybe some other waste of time like looking in the mirror all day and dreaming? You will not become a movie star. You will not become a famous singer. These people, most of them had a paying career at a young age, like 5 years old. Wake up and smell the dirty laundry. It's not going to clean itself.
Whoa, talk about a reality check. Williams really took us back to his peanut butter and jelly sandwich days. He's got a point though. Adulting is expensive. Bree shared a really personal story that takes this discussion to a whole new level.
When I was 16, I paid the rent for my 22-year-old boyfriend. I did his laundry and paid for his groceries too. Never mind the statutory rape, manipulation tactics, and fed up power dynamics. I was in love, or thought I was, and this isn't about that. Shortly after we broke up, my mother kicked me out. I was only 16 and couch surfing and sleeping on benches. Mind you, I worked. We were poor. I started working at a very early age. I was a good student and got good grades. My teachers loved me. So did my employers. I was relatively self-sufficient. But I was only 16 and alone and female. Yes, it does matter. Never mind that my mother abandoned me to navigate a cold and ugly world on my own. This isn't about that either. What this is about, is that I was left with a choice. I could wallow in self-pity and blame and the unfairness of it all, or I could pick myself up and take responsibility for my own damn life. I applied to college and got in. I paid my own way. I worked very, very hard. I got good grades. I supported myself. Eventually I became the very first college graduate in my entire family. I continued to work. I paid off my student loans in less than 10 years. I opened my own business, very, very hard. I bought my own home. I was careful with my money and saved. I lived my life and ran my business and always made an effort to be the best person I could be. This week, my business is turning 20 years old. It has survived 2 recessions and a worldwide pandemic, among other things. My life is not perfect, but I can honestly say that everything I have, I earned. It wasn't easy, but I did it, and I did it with integrity and honesty and kindness. Your parents owe you nothing. You are an adult. If I could take responsibility for myself at only 16, you can certainly do it at 22. It might be hard sometimes, but then you'll be that much more proud of yourself when you look back at your successes. And of course you can always come to us here on Quora when you find you need help. I'm sure I'm not the only one here that is wishing you the best of luck. P.S. That boyfriend I had? The 22-year-old that I thought I was so in love with? The last time I saw him he was a disaster. A million kids, no money, unhealthily overweight with rotting teeth, etc. All his handsome good looks and charm gone. He never learned. He never grew up. He never took responsibility for himself. Too bad for him. But I know I dodged a bullet. Yay me.
First of all, Bree, congrats on all your success. Her story shows resilience, but also highlights how tough life can get when you're on your own. What do you guys think? Should parents help out more, or is this just the reality of adulthood? Karen says parents do a lot more than we realize.
My parents never asked me to pay rent. I did secretly pay $100 a month on their car loan and they were shocked when the title came in the mail. Note, my mom would just take a coupon out of the book every month and sent a payment in. When the title came, she was like, how could the car be paid off almost a year early? I told them my way of paying rent. I had a job, and even though it was 1/4 of my take home in those days, they provided everything for me. My sister, on the other hand, decided when she got a decent job 5 or so years later to move out into an apt with a girlfriend. At one point the two girls moved back into my parents' house between leases, and I found out later they did pay them rent. I'm sure they did their own laundry and don't know if they ate there or not, but my parents did shelter them. As far as your parents only providing you with a room, well, that is an untruth. They are also providing electric, water, probably Wi-Fi and maybe internet, washer and dryer, a kitchen with dishes and a way to cook. Just because mommy doesn't wash your clothes, clean your room and maybe cook and clean up after you doesn't mean you are only renting a room. Go out and find out how much it would cost you to rent an apt with a couple of other people, with sharing all the costs. Don't act like a spoiled little girl. Grow up.
Bethan gave us a complete breakdown of living costs. Honestly, I'm scared to do the math myself.
You only get one room. They don't allow you to use the bathroom, toilet, the kitchen, the living room. They don't allow you access to the washer and dryer, refrigerator, cable/internet. They don't feed you or provide your electricity and heat/air conditioning. Do you have to pay separately for water and sewer? Property taxes? Are your belongings covered under their house insurance? Do you have access to their vehicle? Are you allowed to store things in the garage/loft/attic/cellar? Can you use the outdoor space? How much are you paying monthly for all these other things? How much are you paying for rent? You can't stop paying. You're an adult. It's irresponsible and disrespectful to stop paying. You could get evicted, and an eviction makes it very difficult to get a decent apartment later. You will either need to pay or move out. If you stop paying, it will hurt and upset your parents and cause conflict that will make your life unpleasant.
If you were my kid and you stopped paying because the $100 a week I expected and was secretly putting aside for you anyway was unfair, you would find your room stripped of anything you did not personally paid for or were not formally gifted as a birthday Christmas gift, and you'd be on as close to bread and water rations as I could manage. The internet password would change, and I would turn off the cable in your room. You'd only get what you either paid for or what charity required. If you went near my fancy coffee machine, I would remind you that's for paying guests only, and you'd struggle to get hot water for your shower. You don't want to pitch in to take care of the family. Well, it's not obliged to take care of you, the 22-year-old grown-up. Gonna be hard to charge your phone with no access to electricity. The bill's in my name, after all. I actually did something very similar to this, and the miscreant's response was to comply and apologize profusely, and give me flowers every week for 2 months. Try this. Add up what you currently pay, then look at what it would cost to have your own one-bedroom flat, that same one room your parents limit you to. Here is an example of what it can cost monthly. I've used the UK pound. You can convert it to dollars or euros, depending where you are. Gas, £40. Electricity, £80. Insurance, £45. Water sewer, £60. Council tax, £100. That's a UK thing, don't know about US. Food, £120 for one person. Cable, broadband, phone, £100 minimum. Studio flat in reasonable neighbourhood, £600. That's mid-range. Even if you just get a room in someone else's home, you are going to be in the same situation as you are with your folks. Those are the basics. There are other costs, but let's look at what you have so far. £145 GBPs. In USD, that's roughly 1,400. Plus, that's not counting laundry, all the things like pots and pans, the housekeeping, etc. Basics that you might have provided already. What appliances and furniture do they have that you would have to buy? It costs about £1,500 to kit out a one-bedroom or studio flat. You know, things like linens, microwave, iron, dishes, toilet brush, That's about 1800 US. You'd probably have to put that on a credit card. At 12%, you'd have to repay, over a year, 168 a month. To live on your own, at the same or close standard as you live now, would cost you nearly $1,600 a month. You'd have to do all the cooking, cleaning, laundry, which you would probably need to do at a laundrette pounds dollars. Pay for your mobile phone, your car insurance. If you are currently under your parents' policy, you are saving nearly 40%. So make sure to add that in. When you are at your own address, you can't be under their policy anymore. Okay, so you're looking at $1,600 a month, probably more. So how much are you parents charging you? How many of those other bills do you have to pay? You might also find that in addition to the favorable financial situation, at least at home, you have your family's support. You have to think, unless you're paying $1,600 a month, you're probably getting a very, very good deal. It's one of those things you learn when you move out for the first time. Living at home is a lot better than you think, and your parents do more and pay for more than you realize. Becoming an adult isn't cheap.
And then Teresa came through with a cultural perspective that was really refreshing.
Dear young man, I see many comments insisting that you grow up, that your parents don't have to provide and give you anything, etc. But I don't agree, so I will give you my opinion. I am Portuguese, living in Portugal. We have different traditions and culture than in the USA. I often read and hear, coming from the USA, that parents kick their children out by the age of 18 or even younger. It's almost as if they are no longer their parents. They don't know them. They become strangers, or else they become landlord and tenant like you. Just the right for the room, not even a cookie, a pancake made by mom, a kiss maybe. Or you have to pay for a kiss. What's the price of your parents' love and care for you? How many dollars a month? I'm sorry, but I find those behaviors hard to accept and view as anything normal and acceptable in a humane way. The thing is, by 18, you are legally no longer a minor, so by law, your parents are not obliged to support you. But one thing is the law. Other is human relations between parents and children. These are priceless. And what about love? Not everybody suddenly, from one day to the other, overnight as they turn 18, become independent adults completely equipped to take care of themselves in every aspect of life, including financial, and should be kicked out to sleep on the street in the cold and rain. And 22 is still a very young age. And what kind of mother or father would be one that from one day to another, as her son turns 18, stops preparing any dinner for her son, or providing any loving care that may imply spending some money, just because her son is no longer a minor? It is expected that children grow up and at a certain point, early in their life, start providing for themselves and stop depending on their parents. And parents should encourage that. However, it doesn't have to be so sharp over turning 18 or less. In some cases, children already help their parents in chores from a young age. In some countries, children even work, which is considered against their rights. But not everybody grows so easily, and some children, or young people, take a bit longer. Often they are university students and don't finish up their studies before 22, 23, or even later. Then it can be difficult to get a job. It is my view that parents should provide for their children throughout all this period, never leaving them unprotected if they still couldn't establish themselves. This is being a loving parent and not pressing your child to be kicked out or stop feeding them, etc. Parents-children relations should not be ruled and wrecked by money. And the parents have brought the child to the world. They have a moral obligation and simply should do it out of love. To see them grow till they are able to sustain themselves. Having said that, of course, if the children become lazy and don't want to work or study or do anything useful with their lives and for a living, parents don't have to support them forever and be explored just because the child doesn't want to do nothing. In extreme cases, it's acceptable that parents, after prior insistence without results, end up menacing the child to be kicked out or have to find a way to help expenses. Some children also become criminals and violent to the parents. Of course, in that case, no parent has to submit himself to that. But I am referring to regular good children. I have a 22-year-old son, still a university student. He's not working, having a job, We parents pay for all expenses. We love him around. I cook wonderful meals for him, treat him with warmth and love. And he, of course, is free to be and use his house for free. Yes, we bought the house, but it's also his house because we are a family. This is family, not landlord and tenant. I couldn't live with my son as if he was my tenant. Of course, if the son starts working and still lives with the parents, it is acceptable that he contributes with some money for the expenses, especially if parents live with financial difficulties, or even if not. But still, things don't have to be so strict, like if you are in a hotel. If you pay X dollars, you get a room. If you want breakfast, it's Y dollar more, plus Z and W for lunch and dinner. And how about a price for cleaning and watching TV, etc.? How can people have such a cold and materially ruled relation with their children? I don't understand, neither in my mind or my heart. Yes, people have a heart too. Feelings, need of closeness, of a warm and loving home. That should be mother care. How about when parents get old and needing? If their once neglected children, ask them for money, if they need some care from them, and only give them a part, depending on the pay they receive. I'm sorry if I didn't answer directly to your question, but I tried to give you some topics of reflection which may help you find the answer within yourself. You should reflect on what kind of relation you have with your parents. Why they don't include you in their meals? Do they want money for this? Do they cook dinner for them and leave you out? If I had parents like that, I would move out. If I was not welcome at my parents' table as a family, I might as well find my own dining table in my own house. I wouldn't want to sit at their table and eat a food, even for a pay in money, that they wouldn't want to share with me by their own free will. I might even not relate to those parents so much, since they are rather hostile managers. Maybe I'd move to a hostel. A tiny house. Get a house with a friend, if I couldn't afford one by myself. My advice to you would be that you think about all this. Reflect on your situation in general, including financial. Think what's best and more convenient for you, under your circumstances, and choose what's best for you. Since your parents have you in the house only if you pay rent, and the rent doesn't even include food for you. However, if you stop paying them, probably they won't be happy about that, and given the described picture, may not accept. You stay in your room for free. They may want more money for food, just like in a hotel. If you find this solution adequate and acceptable for you, you may consider it. I'm sorry you have this situation, and I wish you all the best and a happy outcome.
I love that she brings up how different traditions shape our expectations. Definitely something to think about. So, what do you think? Should this 22-year-old stop paying rent to their parents, or is that just part of growing up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more debates like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2.